Hey guys, Luna here with a new video for the channel. How you're doing today? Today is a really special day because again guys, it's Midnight's weekend. Taylor Swift is releasing Midnights this Friday. You're probably seeing this video on Saturday, so Midnights has already been released, but I'm releasing my videos after Midnights is released for two different reasons, because I know that many of you may think, why the fuck is it that this guy is going to release his videos pre-midnight? Isn't it better to just wait for midnight to appear and then make a video including midnight? No, because here's the thing. I'm gonna do the review, okay? The review is probably going to be released on Saturday as well. This is Wednesday when I'm recording these videos. The reason why I want to do it pre-midnight is because number one, I think that I need to give the album way more space in terms of, for it to include itself into Taylor's discographies and, in her story as a musician. And I don't think that 2 days, 3 days is enough to, for it to happen. I'm not gonna be like this fucking YouTube channels that basically 1 hour after the album is released, they're already making a review. I want to take my time to listen to the album, and once that happens, that's when I'm going to do a review, and that's when I'm going to include it onto, the rest of the discography. And number two, I think there's this whole magic of making a video before the album is released. I don't know. I just think it's cute. I just think it's fun. So that's the reason why. It's not like I need to explain you. Why are you asking? Basically, today we're doing another episode of the Overrated series. This is basically a series where I take your favorite artist and ask the question, are they overrated or are they not? And today is, of course, because it's Midnight's weekend, we're talking about Taylor Swift. Is Taylor Swift overrated or not? In order for us to know that, we need to take a look at the history of Taylor Swift as an artist. Well, first of all, we have to remember that she came onto the scene in 2006 with the release of her debut self-titled studio album, Taylor Swift. This was basically a collection of country, folky tracks that, even though it's quite enjoyable, and if you like this type of music, you can totally, this album is totally fine. It's obviously not at the same level of quality as the next albums released by her. With her next album, she was basically using the same type of songwriting as in this record, but now with a lot of pop added into it. It was not till the release of Red where this pop influence and rock influences as well were pretty much evident to the point where it became her sound. Even electronic music was added into the mix in tracks like I Knew You Were Trouble, and then with the release of 1989, it was pretty much obvious that Taylor was a country singer no more. She was now a pop artist and pretty much the biggest one in the entire fucking planet. Then after the success of 1989 and basically her whole pop career, let's say, the release of Reputation and the release of Lover were clearly flops after such an amazing streak of albums. Her discography up to this point was pretty solid. Instead, both Reputation and Lover were albums that, even though I cannot really say that they're horrible, they are pretty bad, especially at some given points. Because one of the main things you have to consider when talking about Taylor Swift is the lyrics, because she is an amazing storyteller. She has a wonderful, wonderful ability to communicate a story, is it feelings, or any other thing that can be communicated through music. She knows how to do it. Not only her lyrics, but also her performance, but we're talking about a bit later. A lot of people say that Taylor Swift is one of the best composers and lyricists in the history of pop music. And even though I can slightly agree, she is definitely great at, at telling a story, at communicating the feelings through some really clever one-liners. I don't really think that she is as good as many people think she is. It is true that many of the first albums she released has some really questionable and even homophobic lines in them. You know what I'm talking about. Because most of the track kind of carries the same lyrical content, and it's heartbreaking love songs. Sometimes you can throw a song about someone bullying other people or a song about your mother here and there, but most of the tracks are just love and heartbreak songs. So after a while, even if it's delivered properly and is written properly, it becomes boring and uninteresting, and that's pretty much the thing that happens with Taylor Swift already by the album Speak Now. In Red, she tried to switch things up by adding a little bit more wordplay into the mix, but still the track Red is probably one of the worst in terms of lyrics that Taylor has ever delivered. I know that a lot of people think that track is clever, but no thank you. I believe it's annoying, and I believe all these metaphors like trying to love him was like, jumping out of a pool that has no water in it. Not only that, but I believe that, also in albums like 1989, she could show some really questionable toxic behavior. I don't know if this was on purpose. If it was, then it was spot on, because it kind of convinced me that Taylor was kind of crazy. But that was my opinion up until 1989 only. You know, I think that she was slightly overrated. But with the release of albums like Folklore and Evermore, note that I'm not counting both Lover and Reputation, because I just don't think it's necessary. Those albums meant nothing in terms of lyrics for Taylor. But Folklore and Evermore were massive improvements in terms of Taylor as a songwriting. Actually, such an improvement that I believe that it's enough for me to say now, 2022 here, talking, that she's not overrated at all in terms of lyrics. It's so beautiful, it's so personal, it's so clever as well. The way there's almost no filler lyrics in this albums. There's not orange type of rhyming lyrics, for example, like in that song Stay Stay Stay, where she's basically saying, like, she's in an argument with her boyfriend, right? So the last time she was in an argument with him, she threw the phone at him. So the next time that he came into the room to talk, he was wearing a football helmet. That is almost unintentionally funny, man. That has to be one of the most awkward and weird and cringy lines I've ever heard in a song. Instead, here is more mature. I believe that Folklore and Evermore are amazing albums in terms of lyrics, and so good indeed that I believe that thanks to these albums, I totally disagree with anyone thinking that in terms of lyrics, Taylor Swift is overrated. She definitely deserves the praise, but lyrics are not the only thing that's important. We also need to look at popularity, and in this case, I don't even think it's worth trying to argument against it. Taylor Swift is not overrated, not ever so slightly overrated in terms of popularity. She is one of the most popular artists in the history of music. People like Michael Jackson, Freddie Mercury, let's say the Beatles, have nothing on Taylor Swift in her prime. You were talking about 2015, 2014, and even 2016. This BTS stands that everyone's talking about now have shit on Taylor Swift. The Taylor Swift or Swifters or the hipsters, I don't even know what the fuck they were called, were so annoying and all over the place defending her against every single piece of criticism. Everyone who dared to suggest that maybe Taylor Swift was dating too many people, they get flamed on Twitter, bro, and in Facebook back in the day. Don't even dare to suggest that. And even now, she has such a strong and solid fan base. She is not overrated at all in terms of popularity. I'm not going to spend a single second more of my life talking about or trying to defend Taylor against the claim that she may be overrated in terms of popularity. We're talking about someone who doesn't matter. When she releases an album, you best believe that she is on every radio, on every single corner of this planet. People in Antarctica are synchronizing the radio to kind of see what the fuck is playing. They're listening to Blank Space. If this is 2015, you can bet your ass that they're listening to Blank Space or Bad Blood or some shit like this. Now we go with performance. Is Taylor Swift overrated as a vocalist? Yes, 100%. Taylor Swift is not really the type of woman that can hit the highest notes. And I have seen some people on Twitter, actually a lot of people on Twitter, saying that low-key, Taylor Swift is a genius in terms of vocals, when no, really, actually most of her songwriting is kind of, limited to a certain register, because she cannot get past it. The tone of her voice is beautiful, but she was born with it. It's not like she could fuck that up. She's going to sound like that no matter what she does. And props to her. I was the one that was born with a fucking horrible tone of voice. There's no problem about it. I love the albums even if they don't have any high notes in it. One of my favorite performers of all time is Bob Dylan. That can kind of tell you how much of a shit I give about technical ability. So it's not really that important. But considering that a lot of people seem to think that she is a fucking genius in terms of vocals, I believe that you could say that she's overrated. I don't know if you want to. Now we go with the most important thing, out of this whole video. You can be influential, you can be popular, you can have good lyrics in your shit. But honestly, if you don't have good albums, then it's game over for you. I don't really want you in my videos ever again. And I cannot even begin to stretch how important it is for an artist to have a good discography. You can have 10 number ones, you can have 74 Grammys if you want. If the albums are not good, fuck you. And Taylor, honestly, her discography is kind of a mixed bag. You have the early, albums, for example, Taylor Swift. You also have Speak Now, you have Fearless. And these albums, even though they're not bad, they can be extremely repetitive. They can be quite annoying, and they can have some really corny ass songs that made me regret the fact that I was ever a teenager and I liked girls like this. I know I'm 21 and I'm not, but I'm a young adult right now. I'm not a teenager anymore. Come on, guys.
I get to say that I'm an adult.
Then you have albums like Red, 1989, which in my opinion are great improvements. But those albums are quite overrated, because even though they're good albums, great albums actually, I don't really know if I would put it in my top 100 albums of all times like the Rolling Stone did. We're talking about top 100 albums of all time. Like, we have a lot to consider here, and Taylor Swift Red came out in the top 100. No thank you. I don't think that's a correct pick. And look, I'm a Taylor Swift fan right here, but I just don't think it has to be there. Then you go with Reputation and Lover, and my God, God knows that I didn't enjoy those albums, especially Reputation, because Lover I can kind of give it a pass. But most of the songs in Reputation seem so out of place, It's just like, it wasn't the same Taylor writing these songs. It was Taylor trying to be cool, not being cool. That's what happens when you go, when you get along with Ed Sheeran. This kind of shit happens. But then, even though you had a big flop in those two albums, you have Evermore and Folklore, which are the best albums she has released by far, and I'm willing to fight anyone who goes against that argument. So it's kind of a mixed bag, you don't really have the best discography in the world. You only have like a handful of albums you could call good or even great. You do have somewhat a solid discography, but since we're talking about Taylor Swift, which is pretty much one of the most praised artists on the fucking planet, is it really enough for me to say that Taylor Swift is not overrated? Well, pretty much I don't really think she is, because I haven't seen a single person in the fucking world saying that Taylor Swift has the best discography of all time. Most of Taylor Swift's fan base don't really say shit like Taylor Swift is the best artist in the world or anything like that. More than anything, they just kind of enjoy when she releases music that's relatable to them and relatable to a lot of the situations they're going through in life. And that's pretty much it. They go on to listen to other albums. So there's no one really saying that she has the best albums in the fucking history of music, or at least I haven't seen many. So honestly, even though she doesn't have the most solid discography in the world, she does have some amazing albums, and I don't really think she has a fan base that overpraises her albums as for me to say that they're overrated. So in terms of discography, I really don't think she is. Which leaves me with the conclusion of this video. Is Taylor Swift overrated or not? I think I made it pretty much clear through the whole video. I don't really think that Taylor Swift is overrated. Actually, I believe that so many people just see her as, the blank space girl or the bad blood girl. No one really looks into her discography, and there's so much to see. I believe that many of her best songs are not found in the singles, but inside the albums, So I definitely think that more people should, jump into her discography and explore the whole thing, not just focus on the singles. So in that term, I believe that actually Taylor can sometimes be ever so slightly underrated, but in other things inside her own fan base, things can go a little bit mad sometimes, with some claims calling her the greatest female artist of all time. That's something that has been said multiple times. I've seen it on Twitter, I've seen it on Reddit, I've seen it on Discord, and back in the day I used to see it in Facebook and Instagram, and I totally disagree with it. There are a huge number, I can name you so many fucking females that are so much better, not only in terms of discography, but in every single other category I've named in this video. So it kind of depends on what part of the internet, let's say, or what part of the spectrum you want to see. But if you grab and mix it all and try to make something out of it, you're gonna find that pretty much the general opinion about Taylor Swift is that she is a really talented woman that has released some really fire albums, has released some really questionables some really questionable ones as well, and that's pretty much it. The rest is just, enjoying the music. And that really represents me as a Taylor Swift fan. The same thing that happens to me with Coldplay. I don't believe that Coldplay is one of the greatest bands of all time or anything like that. I just enjoy the albums, I just enjoy the music. I can tell perfectly well that the albums have a lot of flaws, and actually in terms of discography, Coldplay isn't really that high up there with the rest of the bands. The same thing happens with Taylor. I'm not saying that Taylor is the best artist in the world. I'm just saying that she is a really talented woman that managed to find a balance between popularity and art, and art. So based on that, I can gladly and really proudly say that Taylor Swift is not overrated at all. That is it for today's video, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any other videos that I upload. Let me know your opinion. Is Taylor Swift overrated or not? Remember that this is only my opinion, so if you have yours, go ahead and leave it down below in the comments and I'll make sure to check it out. Do you want me to review another artist? Do you want me to talk about another artist being overrated or not? Again, leave it down below in the comments so I can see it and fulfill your request as soon as possible. With that being said, once again, I hope that you enjoyed and I hope that I can see you guys soon with a new video. But until then, bye.